Welcome friends to this NPTEL MOOC module on handling healthcare survey data. We are on the third week of our sessions. After explaining the very foundations of sample data and also about how to go for handling with some sampling data. Even we discuss about missing values in the previous lectures. So now we should explain about the validity, reliability and accuracy and precision of the sample data, and this is one of the pre-testing required before doing our final analysis. There are some aspects I am going to emphasize. All those four components I will clarify in this lecture, and some of its database findings we will do it on its specific lecture, and I will re-emphasize as well. So, coming to the validity or even reliability, accuracy and precision, this is actually the process of measurement that entails assigning numbers or other symbols to the observed attributes. The measurement can be improved by identifying and minimizing errors. Every other time I have been emphasizing the fact that how we could able to minimize the errors in the sample data. So, we are dealing with four important measurement adequacy, which is quite relevant in the sample data to check before final estimation. So, first one is called validity, second one is reliability, third one is accuracy and precision. Likewise, the scheme of the presentation is here. Like we start with the unit of observation, then it will define their characteristics or their variables. Then those variables could be of qualitative and quantitative, and once we understand the very basic aspects in the variables and characteristics, then we move to the measurement. In the measurement, we should have checked all those four adequacy, okay, that is validity, accuracy, reliability and precision. These are applied on all the kind of or all type of data set, maybe nominal, maybe ordinal, maybe interval or ratio. So, finally, after doing all those fundamental check, we should finally get our data, and those data could be again of qualitative and quantitative. So, that means these are the adequacy instruments we do apply, whether it is qualitative data or quantitative data. Okay. And so, coming to the first adequacy check, that is called validity. This refers to the degree of proximity between a measurement and its true value. So, likewise we do hypothesis testing, we check with the true value and its estimated value. We then compare, and we similarly in the sample data also we check the true value, and it is actually how our sample information or sample estimates could be representing the true value. So, this in fact the validity refers to the degree of proximity. This also explains the extent to which the study measures what it is intended to measure. Okay. Are the values describing what was supposed to be measured? Often discussed in the context of representativeness of sample, validity is also reflected by survey design. If your survey design is quite apt, quite right, then there are high chances of getting validity to your true value or a true representative value. Now, there are certain guidelines for interpreting the validity coefficient. You might be confused and of in interpreting So, the validity coefficients are like r is equal to 0.21. So, as per our example data set here, example result here. There are indicators we have mentioned below 0.11, 0.11 to 2.20, then 0.21 to 0.35 and above 0.35. So, like below, if it is the value of the validity coefficient is below 0.11, that is that means your sample data is unlikely to be useful, okay, for estimating your population characteristics. Then if it is above 0.335, that is very beneficial. In between there are certain likeliness of its uses. So, validity for selection systems that are that use multiple tests will probably be higher, because you are using different tools to measure or predict different aspects of performance. To generalize the results beyond the confines of the experiment must accurately reflect the situation in the real world. That is, it should have both internal as well as external validity. So, then we need to understand these two concepts first, what do you mean by internal validity and what do you mean by external validity. Regarding internal validity, first question we ask, are the results valid for the study itself or study subjects? The study subjects which we are referring, is it actually applicable? External validity, obviously it is beyond the study subject, and that is like are the results valid for the population from which the sample was drawn. So, within, like you have collected the data, now you need to check whether it is actually whatever we have derived is actually correct within the sample frame or not. Then we check with the population. When the population characteristics are being compared, that means we are actually looking at the external validity of the sample. Now, lack of validity is referred to as bias or systematic error. You might have heard about the term often used by the reviewers, a paper, that your results seem to be having systematic error or biases. Internal validity can be compromised by faulty test material sampling, unnoticed factor interference, deterioration or change in the nature of materials during or between test, and faulty instruments. So, out of any of the indicators, there might be more other factors as well, but these actually refer to internal validity. Then we discuss about external validity, that can be understood by the faulty in its sampling frame or sampling design, then unnoticed interfering factors, poor description of the process which makes replicating the experiment impossible. Then people are the subject of experiment, changes in the way they act because of the artificiality of the experiment situation. So, basically these are external validity, and how these factors explain the external validity is described here. Next one is on content validity. Regarding the content, this indicates the extent to which items adequately measure or represent the content of the property or trait that the researcher wishes to measure. Second important aspect within the content validity is that the subject matter expert review is often a very good first step instrument in developing the understanding related to content validity. So, the first check one should do it with subject matter expert and their reviews. Then third one is called construct validity. Construct validity, here we refer to the extent to which a measurement method accurately represents a construct. Construct could be your latent variable, such as person's attitude, or produce and observations distinct from that which is produced by a measure of another construct. Construct could be your your latent variable. Latent variable usually referred to such variables which considers to be the proxy, or sometimes refers to as the refers to as the qualitative variable as well, but most often it is referred to as a proxy, okay, that represents. Okay. So, likewise we have cited here as an example of person's attitude. Okay. So, it is very difficult to define or quantify. So, it has qualitative characteristics. Okay. So, then methods to assess construct validity includes, but not limited to, like factor analysis, then correlation test, and items response theory models. So, these three are mostly used. So, the factor analysis we will also discuss sometimes within the purview of the SPSS. We may not do it in detail, but the overview of this will be discussed, because this one I have covered in my previous module. So, you can follow it. The next aspect of discussion is called within the validity method is called criterion related validity. What are the criterion? What are the criteria we usually discuss? This indicates the extent to which the instrument score correlate with an external criteria, either at present or in the future. In the present, this is called concurrent validity, and in the future it is called predictive validity. A common measurement of this type of validity is the correlation coefficient between two measures. So, you can take a note of it that this is one, in fact, the common measurement related to validity. Okay. So, next comes validity of a questionnaire. How it's instead of sampling, it is also better to check the questionnaire. Validity of certain questions can be checked in a special survey, that is clinical record of an individual can be checked who have been regularly visiting the hospital from last 6 months on a special survey. Then another method of validity check is consistency or cross check. Like if a woman is 18 years old, she cannot possibly have a child aged 10 or 15. A woman with 2 single pregnancies cannot have 3 infant deaths. So, these inconsistencies should also be checked initially. Those kind of check is called cross check, and cross check corrects your faults with the questionnaire. All right. Then in the first aspect we said related to questionnaire is that you need to have a special check or special survey. Okay. Special survey that has to be directly hitting to the requirement of the study, like clinical record of an individual can be checked who have been regularly visiting the hospital from last 6 months. Now, we are discussing about reliability after the discussion of validity, where we said the proximity to the population result is in fact defined as the validity. Reliability is something where we are related to the understanding, relate this understanding to consistency, okay, consistency of a result. So, reliability indicates the degree to which the measurement instrument is actually consistent. This also refers to the repeatability of the measure. Okay. So, if you are repeating the measure, like I used to suggest that you can take some subsample and then estimate from your from the survey data to cross check whether your result is still valid or not. Reliability also useful in the discussion of robustness as well, because this is repeatedly estimated and can give a consistent consistency of your result. So, this refers to reliability of a measure, as I already said. That means this explains the degree of closeness between repeated measurement of the same value. Will one get the same values if the measurements are repeated? Not necessarily. It is not necessarily that someone is going to get the same value. If the values are not very different, not so diverse, then your your result is in fact very consistent. If it is having huge what is called dispersion, then for sure you will need to cross check your questionnaire or sample once again. Coming to variation resulting in poor reliability, this includes variation in the characteristics of the subject being measured, like blood pressure. So, there are variations in the characteristics of the subject. So, blood pressure is one such example. Then second one is called measuring instruments such as like questionnaire. Then the third one is called persons collecting the information or the observer variation. So, observer variation is also important in understanding the poor reliability of your sample. There are two aspects we need to discuss. One is called inter-observer variation and another is called intra-observer variation. Inter-observer variations where differences between observers in measuring the same observation is noted, whereas in case of intra, differences in measuring the same observation by the same observer at different occasions. So, next one is called I mean here we are defining some other aspects of reliability. We will be defining it through some example, like on the table here we find the reliability coefficient values and how to interpret once you have got your reliability values. If it is 0.9 and off, that means your results or your sample is excellent. If it is 0.8 to 0.89, that is good. If it is below 0.7, you may have limited applicability. So, the reliability of a test is indicated by the reliability coefficient. It is denoted by R. Okay, this ranges from 0 to 1. 0 stands for no reliability and 1 stands for the extremely better or the best reliability concept, and that is the R1 indicates perfect reliability. Now, we need to note one thing that do not select or reject a test solely based on the size of its reliability coefficient. Just based on the size of the coefficient, we should not take a decision in either selecting or rejecting a test. Alright, that is one of the important aspects of the interpretation of reliability test. Then considering the test of the type of test, type of reliability estimate reported and context in which test will be reported, we would also take care of it. Okay. Next set of discussions are on measures of reliability. This includes internal consistency reliability, then retest reliability, then inter-rated reliability. These three measures are essential. Internal consistent reliability, like this indicates the extent to which items on a test measure the same thing. It basically test the measure of the same thing. Okay, whereas we in the case of internal consistent reliability, we use Cronbach alpha and Crowder Reduction formula KR20. Richardson for formula. So, Krugman's alpha and Coder Richardson for formula KR20 are most common methods for checking internal consistency reliability. So, we usually apply these two for internal consistency reliability. Then the second one is called retest reliability, test and retest reliability. This in fact indicates the repeatability of test scores with the passage of time. Okay, with the time dimension, we check the test again. This estimate also reflects the stability of the characteristic or construct being measured by the test. If we repeat a measure, we get the same result again. We need to cross check whether actually we are getting with the same result or not. The most appropriate way of gauging reliability is by computing an intra-class correlation between the first measurement or test and a subsequent measurement or retest. So, intra-class correlation is in fact essential in this case. Okay. The next one is called inter-rater reliability. This measures agreement of two or more raters or observers that use the same information on the same analyzing unit. So, these raters will actually give information repeatedly, like one is giving, you are also cross checking with another observer. So, they are called inter-rater reliability. Okay. Inter-rater reliability is mostly evaluated by the applications of intra-class correlation coefficient. Okay. This is mostly evaluated by intra-class correlation coefficient. So, correlation coefficient within the class is in fact useful. There are these coefficients in fact most important. One is called Pearson correlation coefficient, then second one is called kappa coefficient, and third one is called rank correlation coefficient, and these are quite useful in the case of inter-rater reliability or intra-class correlation coefficients. So, these three are important, I have already mentioned. I suggest that you should prepare accordingly. Okay, coming to the inter-rater reliability coefficients, they are typically lower than other types of reliability estimates. So, this is in fact to be noted again. These reliability coefficients are usually lower than the other types of reliability estimates. However, it is possible to obtain higher levels of inter-rater reliability if raters are appropriately trained. Okay, if raters are well trained, then there is no problem and they may get higher levels of reliability as well. So, this 2 points we may ask you a question like under which conditions inter-rater reliability is expected to be giving better reliability estimates. Okay. So, next one is in fact important like the reliability of a questionnaire, how we can check, like in first is called in the questionnaire, like we tested through the validity through the questionnaire, and now we are discussing reliability of a questionnaire. One is called inbuilt reliability, second one is called repeat reliability. Inbuilt reliability can be achieved by repeating certain questions. Okay, some questions if you are repeating and rephrasing the second inquiry while maintaining the same or comparable response code, whereas the response codes are same, but we have actually rephrased the second inquiry to test whether it is giving the same result or not. Then in the repeat reliability, what is that all about in the questionnaire? Repeat reliability achieved by repeating the interview with a small percentage of respondents. So, those are in fact chosen at random. So, some sample percentage of respondents are chosen, and based on that the reliability test is derived. So, these two are in fact very useful, and this has to be followed at random method. Okay. Now, to be accurate, a measuring device must be both valid and reliable. So, this must be valid as well as reliable. Okay. So, both whenever there, then our measuring device or the measurement technique is considered to be most accurate. If an instrument cannot have both, validity is more important in the situation when we are interested in the absolute value of what is being measured. This is also quite important. When we are comparing the absolute value, okay, absolute value for comparison, absolute value if it is being considered, then I think validity method is more important. whereas the reliability is more important when it is not essential to know the absolute value. But rather we are interested in finding out if there is a trend or to rank values. Okay, if that is the case, then in that case reliability is most appropriate. Okay, so these two points are also very important. Regarding accuracy and precision, accuracy refers to the closeness of the measurement values to the correct value. Okay. How close a measurement is to the true value is usually asked as the question. The precision of a measurement is a measure of the reproducibility of a set of measurements under similar circumstances. Okay. So, now the question you generally ask yourself that how close the measurement are to each other. In the diagram you can just have a check like this is a guidance for you. On the vertical axis we have probability density, whereas the values are given on the horizontal axis. Now, how precision is going to be your result depending upon the distribution of your data. If it is quite skewed, obviously there is no question of precision. Again, if it is plateautic in the data, symmetric but plateautic, the alpha region is going to be very high, alpha percentage is going to be high. So, the precision is expected to be lesser. But in case of less sparse from the mean value, from the central tendency, if it is there, then the alpha region is expected to be lesser. In that case, you are expecting a better precision of your result. Okay. So, this gives the mean value of the distribution. If we are reaching around the mean value, that means we are actually defined with the accuracy of the data. Some researchers use the term validity and accuracy synonymously. And the precision and reliability, also are interchangeably used. Validity and accuracy are synonymously considered, and similarly another two terms are also synonymously considered, they are precision and reliability. So, these are all the details for this class. I think regarding Cronbach alpha and its estimation, we will try to give it on our day of lecture for SPSS. We have one module, one lecture dedicated for SPSS. We will be guiding you how you guys can able to run SPSS on your screen, and some basic steps we will guide, rest you I am sure you can able to go ahead with further exploration. These are all for today, and we will continue the lecture on the next week. So, let me stop here. Thank you.